So we're a little bit defeated by the calcium reactor at the moment, but
we're the two Gay Reefers.
Hey Reefers, today we're going to change the calcium reactor on Reefzilla. We decided that we wanted to get another calcium reactor after we had our last alk spike about a week or two ago, where it went from being in the 8 straight up to the 11 for no reason whatsoever. So we figured it's just enough is enough. We're over losing corals due to alk spikes.
We fixed everything on Reefzilla. Everything is stable except for the alk. We've narrowed the alk down to the old calcium reactor. It wasn't pressurized, so we're swapping that out. Our sponsor and friend Nick has kindly found an old calcium reactor, Aquametic.
It is huge!
And I think it will last quite a while. And no matter how many SPS we fit into Reefzilla, I think this beast will cope. So we're going to put this on today. So, calcium reactors are fairly basic. We have power supply, runs the circulation pump. We have here CO2 check valve, so that stops any water going into the CO2. So CO2 is fed into there, and that circulates throughout the media. We have a pH probe as well. So this pH probe can connect to our Neptune Apex, so that will turn the CO2 on and off. So we have a CO2 solenoid already attached to the tank. So this is attached to the plug in the Apex. When the pH on the calcium reactor gets to a certain level, it will turn on the solenoid. That will release CO2 into the media, measured by the pH probe. Once it drops, the pH probe will turn off, CO2 will turn off. When the pH starts rising again, solenoid will kick in, release CO2, add more CO2 into the tank.
what I'm struggling to say there, guys, is that the CO2 affects the pH of the unit. The more CO2, the lower the pH. The less CO2, the higher the pH. Now, the pH has to get up to around 6.5 for this media to actually melt.
Then we have water. Where does water go in? Water goes into here.
Nope.
Nope.
Water goes into the front one.
Water goes into the front one. You can tell it's secondhand because it's got lots of calcium deposits on it. Water goes in there, fed in there. That fills it all up. And then eventually comes out the top and back into the sump. Good thing is, with this design, we can attach it to a doser in future if it's required to make it more accurate. The line is also going into a part of the sump that's fed by the algae reactor there as well. So that will actually help mix it into the sump water as well before going into the tank. This is full of coral rubble already, so we don't have to actually fill it. That was kindly part of the deal. The good thing about this media in the calcium reactor is that it's coral rubble. So the coral rubble will have not just alk and calcium in it, it will also have all those other supplements that have been dosed into a tank or is found in natural coral. So anything that a coral sucks up and holds into its skeleton, this stuff will actually release as well. So that is why we're using it. We believe it's a good benefit to the SPS, and hopefully once we get it set up, it'll be relatively hassle-free. So we need to take the old pH probe off first. Gordon's unsure of which one it is, so I'll give it a wiggle so he can work it out. So it's in the middle there. The issue we have is everything is in a very tight, cramped space next to our sump.
because calcium reactor's that high and our tank stand is lower than that, so yeah. Just the right length.
So I've connected up our water in. So this is the white line here is where the water goes in. This black line here is our CO2. We bought a CO2 Dynamax aluminium CO2 counter.
What have you done now?
So I've just put RO into this thing, which is the bubble counter for the CO2. And then connecting up the CO2 line to the check valve here. And then we have our blue line here, which is the water line going back into the tank, which is nowhere near long enough. We do want to use this check valve, so. Alright, so I've removed the little bit of excess tubing off the end of this, and I'm going to connect up this yellow tubing onto the valve here, the check valve. So this is our water out, so this is where the line goes back into the tank.
We're leaving the cord long for now so we can actually test how fast the effluent is coming out.
Experimenting. Having little inline pumps come in very handy sometimes. As you can see, we have not got a lot of room between the side of the tank and the wall here. So getting in there with a drum to fill this up is would not be possible. And we don't really want to use the water straight out of the tank to fill it, because otherwise we're going to mess with our levels way too quickly. And that's a bad thing.
Oh, it's coming out the bottom, coming out the bottom. Shit. Help. We have leaks.
It's leaking from in here. In and around here. I should be able to tighten that up, but I don't know what to do in here.
1 week later.
So what are we doing?
Going to try and seal.
He's having trouble talking and doing this at the same time.
Just try and get all the seals sealed properly.
Lubricated.
Lubricated to try and stop a few little leaks that we found in the reactor. So the biggest one we have is up in here, which it doesn't seem to want to seal up correctly. As you can tell by the, whatever you call this stuff all over it, it's obviously been sitting in water up to about there most of its life. So if it's leaking down here, it really hit the previous owner, probably wouldn't have known it. So, well, that's my thoughts anyway.
If you hadn't noticed, the big dog in the background, that's our new family member. Everyone,
Han.
This is Han. Bella's a bit unsure, but so far so good. So what are you using?
Good old Vaseline.
Just put it on really thick. Basically, we think the seals have dried out as well from being out of the water for so long, so they're probably a bit dry and cracked. Well, not cracked so much, but just dry. So this will refresh them, hopefully.
Hopefully. this is where most of the leak was coming from. So hopefully this is enough to seal it, and we'll put lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of lubricant on.
Leaking from this side. So just replacing the output out with a new one because the old one was leaking. So we had this one lying around. Oh. It's still full of water, so we got a bit of a surprise when they came out. There we go, looks like that's fixed that. Turning the motor on, it's a little bit dry and noisy. But yeah, no leaks. Yay. There's enough water in it, it actually circulates quite nicely.
Three weeks later.
That's the original O-ring from the pump. As you can see, it's pretty skinny, so we have supersized it, nice and thick. So that's the new seal.
So we're having problems with the original seal that was on here, which was meant to seal that into the bottom of the pump, and it was basically leaking from the bottom of the pump. Went looking for one of those, had a lot of trouble trying to find it, and went to Repco, and apparently it's a gasket seal. So a little bit thicker, which is what we wanted. Let's hope it actually is going to work. So it fits. It's a good thing. And let's see how. No.
This is too big. Yep, so now the gasket is too thick. It just won't squeeze in there. Gonna keep trying. Gordon's walked off somewhere. I don't know what he's doing, but we'll see what he comes back with. Hopefully we'll get this in here. If it gets in there, it will work. So we're a little bit defeated by the calcium reactor at the moment. We've stopped the leaks, but the motor is really noisy. Could be an airlock. It looks like one chamber's not filling properly. We just want to make sure the thing is actually watertight before we put it in place. See if we can fix that, or the alternative is to find another calcium reactor that's new. So we'll keep you up to date. We're going to pause it here, and our search will continue in a later video. If you've enjoyed today's video, like, comment and subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment and subscribe. And as always, be excellent to each other and keep it salty, everyone. Bye for now.
See you guys. I don't have to be.